Welcome to the In a Nutshell podcast with myself, Andrew Miles Davis, and my co-host, Chris Branch. This is the 10-minute daily podcast where we take out all of the techie stuff around generative AI and focus on what the everyday person, content creator, and marketer wants to hear. Now, we've only got 10 minutes, so we only focus on one particular subject. And because today's Friday, we always focus on what's been happening in the world of Gen AI this week. Now, as pretty much every week that we've been doing this in 2023, there's always something new that's been happening in Gen AI. So, Chris, where do we start? Do we start with the GPT Store?
Yeah, well, I was going to say that. It seems to be the most recent thing. It came out yesterday. Probably at the release of this episode, it would be 2 days ago. Yeah. It's a bit of a weird one because there was a lot of expectations and hype around it, and it looks a bit flat, to be honest with you. And no monetization has been announced yet. And I saw a quote that said, we're going to first trial this with USA GPT creators, which means the rest of the world is just going to have to wait for monetization whilst the Americans get to cash it in again. So
Yeah.
I thought, again, a bit underwhelming.
Yeah. To be honest, this is something they've been speaking about towards the end of last year. In theory, it sounds like a good idea. Essentially, the App Store for GPT.
In theory.
But what if you go on it right now? So let's say it's the first couple of weeks of January 2024. It's kind of over. It's not really that impressive. You know, it's not that impressive. There's a lot of, you need to sift through a lot of stuff to find something that will work for you that you can't really do on ChatGPT, or it's quite difficult to do because pretty much everything, as you mentioned before, you can just do on ChatGPT with a prompt. So there's nothing really that special
it helps beginners, but I feel like even then it's better to learn inside ChatGPT than it is to rely on a GPT because it's just a shortcut, really.
Exactly. So, but that's kind of one of some of the main news that's been happening. That's been happening this week. Another thing that I thought was quite interesting was Nikon, Sony, and Canon are developing camera technology to embed digital signatures in images, allowing differentiation from AI-generated fakes to the real one. So essentially what they're doing is you can take a picture, you can upload it, and it will state that this is real rather than AI generated. So one of the areas...
way around. Sorry? We were always waiting for Gen AI images to be marked, except they're going to mark the real ones. That's interesting.
And that was interesting because if you think about it, when we were been speaking about this, and this is we first mentioned it in one of our first podcasts, we were saying how it's going to be quite difficult because all it will take is it would be AI generated, and I put it in Photoshop, make a couple of tweaks, and then it's like, okay, is this AI generated or is it not? So I think it's smart that they've actually gone the other way around. Say this is real. So maybe this could be a thing that's going to help. Would it help increase camera sales? I don't know, but it's a good thing that they're doing. You know, it's an interesting thing. It'd be interesting to see where this goes.
Well, that's a good news story. I've got some unfortunate bad news stories. Lots more layoffs across major tech companies, and they're all citing a move towards generative AI. And this is not surprising, to be honest with you. I think a few of them are blaming it on bad business models, though, as opposed to actually having to forward towards generative AI. It seems that they've just mismanaged staff, or during the pandemic, they hired too many people. And so it's, ultimately easier ways to lay it off and stuff. So it's a good excuse, but yeah, kind of worrying for anyone working at a big tech firm in the USA right now.
Yeah, I think Duolingo is one of them. I heard that they were looking to get rid of a lot of their translators.
Yeah, everyone. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, loads of them, Twitch, all associations of Amazon. It seems that there's layoffs across the board of certain percentages. So really quite worrying times for people working in these companies.
Yeah, I think it's something that one of the things I want to do a lot this year is talk about stuff like that. Like, is it really going to take our jobs? Is it going to be certain jobs that's going to be affected more? So this is something that we're going to be speaking about quite a lot this year, and it'd be good to get feedback from you guys, the general public as well, and your thoughts around that. Because it's not just tech companies. One of the things that I was reading, I think it was last week, was the world's first AI restaurant.
Crazy.
Now, this is in America, of course, and in California, of course. And it's called Cali Express in Pasadena, California, and it's calling itself the first operating restaurant where both ordering and every single cooking process is fully automated. That
Oh,
means instead of fry cooks behind the scenes, you've got burger bots and flippies. So this actually made the news. There was a news story on ABC News in America about it. So it's not just the tech companies that are going to be affected. It's also the well, here is fast food restaurants. A lot of the automated stuff. And we actually had a good conversation off of air, which we're going to actually turn into a whole nother episode around this particular subject, just because there's so much to talk about when it comes to the automation of certain jobs.
well, I've got another news story on that one, weirdly enough. And it's in California too. No surprise there.
Mm.
So many people that have lived there have been telling me that they've been seeing these Waymo cars, which are completely driverless cars just going around the town. But recently there was an issue with California DV. So there's actually a company called California DMV who got their license suspended for automated driving around the city because of too many accidents. So
Ooh,
it goes
ooh.
to show about automation and driverless cars and restaurants that are employeeless. It's still got a way to go, and certain companies are cracking the code and others are falling way behind. And in so
Yeah,
doing so, you lose millions of dollars.
yeah. I don't know
Crazy
how
big
I'd
risks.
feel. I don't know how I'd feel being in an automated car, like
It's
driverless
weird, isn't
car.
it?
Yeah, yeah. I was in Silicon Valley last month, and
Yeah,
like my
right.
friend actually said, "Are you going to go and have a drive in one of them?" I was like, "Nah, I don't know how I feel about it yet. I want to try it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I will feel very, very apprehensive when it
Give it
comes to
4 years and show me the crash report, and then I'll make a decision.
Or what it might be like is like at first, when everyone was like, I will never buy anything on the internet. And a few
Yeah,
years later, people were like, always buying stuff on the internet.
yeah,
It
yeah,
might be
yeah.
like that, where it's like, uh,
Totally.
but yeah. But another thing, talking about legality, this was something that happened towards the end of last year. And I wanted to speak about it in the news. And that was former Donald Trump lawyer, Michael Cohen, accidentally cited fake court case generated by AI. Now, when I read this, I thought, is this an old story? Because I heard about this lawyer who gave the court some stuff that was via Chat GPT and it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But this actually came out recently, and it was Michael Cohen provided his lawyer with made up court cases generated by Google Bard after mistaking the chatbot for a supercharged search engine. And this was December the 29th, 2023. So and it's not just any lawyer. This is like someone who, well, former lawyer of Donald Trump, and he admitted that he actually cited fake AI generated
Oh, he's
court
got it
cases.
caught red-handed. If you're quoting court cases that never existed, AI is somewhere in that process.
Yeah, exactly. So this is not just just anybody. This is like everyone's kind of
That's crazy.
yeah. Everyone's using it, but also you need to be smart on how you use it. So
Yeah,
it's not just a lazy, it's got the answer to everything,
yeah.
because it hasn't. And the fact that you're a lawyer and you're giving it to other lawyers,
Mm.
and the fact that it kind of got out there, there's a lot of mistakes made in that particular process.
I wonder if this is a bit of a side note, but I wonder if they ever thought that hallucination in these AI platforms would be the thing that gets everyone caught red-handed. Because
Mm.
it's a smoking gun, isn't it? You
Yeah,
literally cannot say any other reason that you invented these court case materials than
yeah,
AI did it. Like that's actually the easy excuse.
exactly.
Otherwise, it seems really ridiculous that you
Yeah,
made it up. But yeah,
exactly.
it's been another crazy news week. In a nutshell, there's pretty much the same things that we've been talking about since last year, but 2.0.
Yep.
They're the same issues, the same things ongoing.
And
You can.
very quickly, Chris, in literally 20 seconds,
Oh yeah, yeah.
what happened at the big event that happened yesterday? Was it yesterday with all these robots that was coming at the Samsung event? Well, not the Samsung event, but
Oh
Samsung did it
yeah,
as
the
well.
CES
The
event.
CES,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was crazy. The AI announcements were off the chain. I'd say about 60% of the presentations I watched were AI something or other. You know, it's in robots, it's in face swaps, it's in telecalling, it's in all sorts of different technologies now to some funny or good degree, but they're like the 1.0 of a lot of products, you know, and they're laughably bad. Same like the text models were or image models were when we first saw them, they were just hilariously bad at what they did. But it's the step, you know, 60% of the presentations involved some sort of AI.
It'd be
And
interesting.
it's not an AI thing that, you
Yeah,
know.
it'd be interesting to see what it's going to be like next year. Is it going to be an
Yeah, oh, yeah.
improvement in those robots this time next year?
Yeah.
But brilliant. So that's the news this week. We'll be back next week with what's been going on in the world of generative AI over the next 7 days.